Hello, listeners. Welcome to our first episode of Family Firm in Focus. Few of you might have been through the articles which are being written by myself with the title Family Firm in Focus. And with this initiative, I'll be inviting different advisors and family business owners as well to share their thoughts of having different experiences and their backgrounds as well. So today, I'm really grateful and thankful to the author of book Write Before You Fight, alongside myself as a co-author, Daphne McGuffin, who is having more than 25 years of experience in family business, providing services in succession planning, business transition planning, intergenerational communication, strategic business planning, and especially family business governance. She is a fellow of Family Firm Institute, and as an educator, she is contributing in terms of leading courses, developing mentorship program, and there are so many things to talk about here, but I'll not wait long and would like to welcome Daphne. Thank you, Daphne, for taking some time out, and welcome on board.
Oh, thank you. I must say, Mohsin, I've really enjoyed collaborating with you on writing and publishing a book together. And yes, it's exciting to be able to share that with people today.
Great, wonderful. So, Daphne, once we recall that when we started working on this project, what was in the mind when we can say that we were thinking about second generation, then we said that a female second generation coming up into the business, coming out from the background of Asian families. How do you think of it? What was the reason behind the conceptualization behind this?
Well, when you first introduced me to the daughter of this case that we've covered in the book, I felt her frustrations. I empathized with her position, but I was rather concerned with how she planned to approach her parents and convince her parents and her siblings that she was the one that would be best to orchestrate this transition plan for the business that her father had founded. Now, while she should be congratulated for her intention to stop family fights from happening and what she herself called right before you fight, my take on it was that her chosen approach was more likely to start a family fight.
Yes.
And maybe I could just add to that. I consider the book, the ebook that we talked about, as more of a guide. It's shorter than a book. It's much easier to read and absorb than a 300-page book. But it's literally a step-by-step account of a very practical approach, something that you referred to in your introduction. It's an approach that I've used now for over 25 years, and it's always been successful in getting business families together to have a more healthy and participative discussion about what they want for the future of the family enterprise. So I think this is a better approach for Amna to use than her original idea.
Yes, and definitely, I think we should also realize this aspect that once we were going through this whole process of writing, there was some discussion regarding the case study. That is it going to be a academic version of a case study, or we are going to present a case of a family, and then we are going to develop a guide which can be utilized for any family. It's not just that this is a second generation case, then only second generation family business owners should focus on this, and this guide can be utilized by advisors, by different levels of generation, maybe founders We have some element for the founders as well. We have elements for the mentors as well. So I think you have done a really great job. I presented you that this is what the case is, and then uh, together we have tried to collaborate or work on the case, which can be helpful as a guide rather than just a academic version of case.
Exactly, and that's it. Just by outlining the approach that we use to get families on the same page, it's also a guide for them to be able to either do it themselves, or what we would recommend is having a mentor take them through that approach. The mentor has a very important role to play. So I absolutely ready to explain the benefits of that, but it is something that someone can then just take it off the shelf and apply it.
Yes, perfectly fine that people can just take different models, the approaches which are being discussed here, and definitely we'll keep some of the things for the readers to go through it, and definitely we are open for the feedback as well. We have published different posts on our LinkedIn as well. Our profile says that if you have any feedback while you're going through the book, do share with us. We are happy to maybe respond to that, and we can improve in the later editions as well.
Absolutely, and that's how we can improve it. Absolutely. Over the years of using this, I've always had feedback from families who have gone through it about the value of sitting down and hearing each other out. And I think that's one of the things that is a really valuable approach for families to use. It's not listening to one authoritarian voice. It is sharing and discussing what they all want to see happen, what we call a common interest.
Yes, and Daphne, you have introduced the term learning family, right?
Yes.
Just briefly describe for the listeners that why you have used this term and what's the concept behind this learning family.
So a learning family is something that the research has in the family business field has uncovered over the last few years that families are more successful in moving forward with whether it's just growing the business or it's a transition plan, succession plan, when they learn together. So it's not that one generation sort of has all the knowledge. There is the transition in particular is something that not many people have done before. Right, so it's not something they've practiced and or know all about. So it's so important that they learn together so that they can overcome whatever obstacles they have in their mind and move what we call across the line of confidence to be able to actually pull the trigger and act. And that's what this process is all about, learning to move out of what we call inertia, whereas you don't know what you don't know, and you have a fear of doing the wrong thing, or there's some uncertainty around what the future might bring, or you're just too busy and it's not something that you have time for. You've got a day job, so you don't get around to taking this important step. So by being a learning family and coming together to talk about all the things that you have concerns about and what might trip you up, then we can find solutions to those concerns, and that raises the confidence level. Oh yeah, I think we can actually manage this.
Wonderful. And we have specifically discussed from the perspective of a daughter, a second generation female business owner. So how do you think this guide can address the challenges which Amna has faced as a daughter of a second generation family business owner, and would be the family business owner's challenges similar? Any specific perspective, for example, from the perspective of Asia or across the globe, might have business? What do you think about this?
Well, certainly you mentioned Amna. the frustrations that she feels, she's certainly not alone in that. And I do know that in South Asia, where the case study is set, if you like, there is definitely a cultural and emotional dynamic around females involved in the ownership or the leadership of the business. So AMNA has certainly that to deal with. But I know that those families in that area particularly are very focused on the preservation of their values, their wealth, and ultimately the legacy that they want to pass on. So that while the senior members have certainly a lot of autonomy, it makes it difficult for the next generation, or the rising generation as we call them, to open a dialogue. They risk being seen as kids who disrespect their parents' authority and leadership if they push too hard.
Yes.
So it was not having a voice, especially when they've got ideas around diversification and innovation and enhancing the sustainability of the enterprise in a changing world as we know it. It scares the senior generation that they're going to make too many changes and put that wealth at risk, perhaps. So they are even more reluctant then to let go of the reins.
Yes.
And that the second generation then see that as a lack of confidence in their abilities. So these concerns are worldwide, but certainly very much so in South Asia, where this family lives. I guess there's a real danger that these would-be successors will either push too hard and disrupt the whole family relationship and unity, or they'll just back off and leave the family business altogether. And both of those are a real shame, especially if there's something we can do to help that. And the bottom line here, Mohsin, is with a commitment to education, which this rising generation certainly has, and they have a greater awareness of technology, they have a lot to offer. And I think they deserve to be congratulated for the passion that they have for the family enterprise. You and I both recognize that there is a better option for them, for all families, to ensure that, just like this guide covers, and for the Case family, that there is a process that they can follow to get a unified path forward. And that's the whole premise of writing this book.
Yes, and we have introduced the role of the founding member as well. And you have rightly pointed out that second generation at times they are not being able to create that trust level. But at times we have seen that the founders are not able to adopt the changes. Reluctance towards the adaptation of the changes, that's something which is lacking. So in this case, we have seen that both the communication part is very important. Both the founding member as well as the female second generation family member, his daughter, has played the role in transformation, and both are being able to accept that we are ready to accept what each one of us are saying. And that's very well adopted here.
Yeah, so to be able to be taken seriously around how they might help and participate in the opportunities for the family enterprise to be taken to the next level, I guess. But it's especially true, as you say, for the females in the family business to be valued for that. I think first and foremost, the guide gives the next gen females an equal voice at the table, where they can demonstrate that they have an emotional investment. They can showcase their enthusiasm and their commitment, the insights that they have, and overall the support for the family enterprise. They are just as passionate about ensuring the family enterprise can continue to thrive. In AMNA's case, she was actually able to demonstrate her fervor for the Ahsanwala printing press and the depth of knowledge that she has around issues facing family enterprises in general. It actually helped her father, what I would say, sit up and take notice of her knowledge in the whole area, maybe more so than her brothers. had.
Yes.
Um,
And
so
she has proven, sorry to cut
yeah,
you,
no, go ahead.
but she has proven that whatever she was going through during her academic studies, she was trying to adopt this. She
Yes.
has been through this legal version of the academic cases and how to write. Actually, that's the reason we have chosen the title as well, right before. And as Amna suggested, that before we go into the conflicting aspect of, like, when we have a wealth division or we have a succession planning, we should write it. And this shows, as a female, she has a leadership capability as well.
She certainly could envision the need for the written agreements and documents, basically what you and I would call a governance structure.
Yes.
And that's something that many smaller family enterprises haven't ventured into yet. But certainly, with the written documentation, then when an issue arrives or a question arrives, they have a protocol for dealing with that. So it's, consistent, and it shows a commitment to, we're doing what we said we wanted to do. So she envisioned that, she realized that, just as you said, from her background and going through a law degree. So she was able to marry that formal education with that knowledge of family enterprises, and that's a win-win for any family, for sure.
Yeah. And so, like we have discussed, that it is too difficult for the founding member, especially from the context of South Asia family business owners, and I think this is across the globe, we have seen internationally as well, that it is difficult to let it go. So how do you think this book serve as a guide for the transition of the founder from an operator to an oracle?
Right, and I really like that phrase. I've heard that lately, and it really does mean it's important. It's especially with Asian family businesses, where there's so many of them at a point in their lives where they really should have a succession plan in place already. They should have their exit mapped out. For most, that preferred exit is to hand the wheel to the next generation. But for an intergenerational transition, as we call it, to be successful, it's imperative that the senior generation shifts from being the lead driver and takes on the role of the driving instructor. So that's moving from the operator to the oracle, if you like. It's about creating a successful marriage between the energy and the enthusiasm of the youth with the experience and the wisdom that comes from 40 years or so in the trenches for the business owner. It's not easy to transition 40 years of wisdom in a very short time period. So most business owners are more comfortable playing their cards close to the chest. I'm sure you've found that too. They watch what others are doing, and they mull things over in their mind. They aren't used to sharing their innermost thoughts with others. Yet preserving their culture and their traditions is very important to them. So too is their family. And the last thing that they want to do is destroy the family unity and relationships as they put the kids into the driving seat. Sorry, go ahead.
Actually, I have been through this process. I am also from second generation family business. And once we look at the normal, apart from just having from the family business, when we see that a father, and you have given the right example, that a father is sitting not on the driving seat now, alongside with the driving seat, and asking his son or daughter, or maybe a mother is sitting and leading initially, but now she or he is serving as an instructor, and letting them drive. So in that case, we know how difficult it is, because we know that this person is taking a wrong direction, and we have to at times stop, resist. Don't say something to your son or daughter. Let them do the mistake, although you are sitting there. So same thing goes on in businesses as well. Then let them drive, let them take the decision. You are there to serve, you are there on the back of it. You want them to take the leadership position. This is how you train, and a very wonderful example. I do resonate my personal experiences with this as well.
It is very true, and a lot of people say you learn by failing. The reason for the approach that we have in the guide is to let them learn in a safe place, so that there isn't a disaster or catastrophe, right, when they take the wrong road. So it's sort of like a dress rehearsal, if you like, for how we would go about this transition, and what everyone thinks needs to happen, and how we can create a we focus instead of focusing on what we see as the right answer, if you like. And it means that we can discuss the potholes and the roadblocks that we'll find on the highway, but we have time and freedom to work around those, say, without any lasting effect. It's a much more open and safe environment than actually taking the kids out on the highway right away. Just to keep that analogy going.
Yes.
And it's very natural for this founder to have some fears. I mean, I know for me, as a parent sitting in the car when my son and my daughter were learning to drive, you want to have a brake pedal of your own to stop things.
Yes.
So yes, it's much more comfortable to be in a position where it's not going to be a serious collision. The founders, in my experience, typically have three main fears of letting go. And the idea of this guide is to help them do that safely. For some, they've worked so hard and so long to build what they've created today. So if something went haywire under the next generation leadership, the senior generation, they don't have the time left or the energy to rebuild. And that's scary. Second is the fear of giving up control of that car, if you like. There refers to the concern that they have about the kids' lack of experience. But there's also a part of that is about giving up their identity as a leader. Their fear not being important or useful because they've stepped back into that passenger seat. And the third of their fears is creating or having to deal with the result of conflict in their family because of this transition. So it may be because they chose one child over another, or it may be that they put siblings together at the helm and they're not getting along. So you can see why they're reluctant to move in. So again, having this guide where there is a dress rehearsal of all of that just adds so much safety and raises their confidence levels because they get to try it out first.
Yes. And here comes the role, as you have pointed out, how important it is to plan the smooth transition. And here comes the role of Mohsin, the mentor, right? Where we have introduced Mohsin as a mentor here. And how would you like to comment on the role of this mentor while facilitation process of intergenerational transition was going on and mentor role was inducted in this guide?
Yes, mentor plays a very important role. And just to recap, what we're looking for here is to the family to adopt this learning mindset, to not only engage both generations in discussion, but to raise confidence levels by the senior generation that the next generation has the ability, they have what it takes to drive the business forward, right? So when you introduce a mentor, now, every business owner is different, but generally speaking, business owners in South Asia are somewhat uncomfortable opening up about what keeps them awake at night or sharing things like confidential information. In fact, I've heard of a number of them that are very reluctant to even hire a financial advisor for fear that advisor's main objective is to sell them a product. Okay, so you want to look for that, what I call impartial advisor, someone who doesn't make a living from selling products, but has very high respect for that family culture. So his or her role would be to facilitate the learning, guide the family through the process, tutor family members on, what awareness they need to have. Certainly ease any tensions that exist between the generations, but ultimately to create a we focus among the generations, across the generations.
Mhm.
So when you take that, all family businesses have some what we call family dynamics, and that stems from the history that they have, the relationships, and how the kids grew up, and you sort of tend to remember kids, what they did when they were a teenager, even though they've matured to a very responsible adult now. But the principles and values that people have, the different interests and skill sets, all of these things create very different perspectives among the people involved in the business, and they have different expectations. So all this complexity is very important to address. So engaging a mentor who has experience in taking all generations from what I called inertia to through the line of confidence and into the point where they're ready to take action. They have know where they want to go, and they're all on board. That's very, very critical to find that person. In fact, if you don't mind, just last week, the Wealth Management Institute in Singapore released a research project, released a report on the research project of Asian family businesses. And if I could just, for a second, quote on that: advisor relationships create the most value when they evolve from transactions to facilitation, convening honest dialogue, coordinating specialists, and translating agreements into roles, cadences, and documentation that stick. Families benefit most from trusted, neutral orchestrators who align to purpose, build process discipline, and measure progress. So that's how I would define a mentor. The report goes on to describe a mentor as a skilled facilitator who encourages honest dialogue, balances power dynamics, and keeps conversations constructive. They create a safe space for open sharing and fostering alignment without fear of repercussions. So that's a very important role in my mind for this. It's the focus of the guide is to show families how a mentor can add so much value to the process.
Yeah, and for our listeners, in this guide, we have actually shared the communication of mentor with each of the family member. So it is very, very important. Our listeners, I would highly recommend that you should go grab a copy. We will list down the link through which you can grab a copy and go through the communication which mentor had. Definitely, if you want to add on this as well, but from my perspective, where we were discussing, and I do remember, because we have spent about a year or so while having a cross communication on every single episode and going through that. So that communication part took so much time. Why? Because we were going through one of the concerns. We said that if Amna, as a female here in this case, has introduced the importance of mentor, and father is convinced, how will the eldest brother, who is running the show of a business at the moment, will react? So we decided that he should be given the importance. Amna herself has mentioned that the brother, the person who is leading the business at the current stage, should be given the importance, and this helps mitigate any sort of concern which was expected, that who has brought the mentor. Mentor might say something in favor of her, but that was not the case, right?
Right. And it was Momin who actually advised Amna to take a different tactic from her original idea. Her original idea, as you said, was to, share with her brothers, this is what you need to do.
Yes.
And if I was the older brother and my younger sister came and told me what I should do, I don't think I would take that too well.
Yes.
But by introducing a mentor and that learning mindset, she's there to learn just as much as her brothers are and her parents are there to learn, and so she can take a more, what you say, partner role with her siblings on what they need to do together, and as you said, recognize that her brother is, sort of taken the lead on the operation side of the business, and has been working in this business for a few years. So he certainly has some autonomy around growing the business. So very much a better idea to involve him in the learning process than to try to tell him what to do.
Yes, and now let's get to the summarized version of what we had discussion throughout this podcast as well, this episode and the book as well. Myself and Daphne, in fact, I have learned a lot with senior fellow member of FFI, Daphne. Thanks again. Throughout the journey, you are my mentor. It's not just the mentoring, it's for family business only throughout the process, throughout my academic journey, my working experience, and this is also on my ongoing experiences. Mentor like yourself and others as well have contributed a lot. And here in this case study, this family business, which we have tried to jot down and brought it up in a smaller book piece, we have mentioned the importance of few things, which has communication, which has understanding, the we focus aspect, understanding each other. And there are certain times where mediator comes into action. It's not that there is some conflict, but before the conflict, it is important that we involve someone who can listen to you. It's not that we as siblings cannot talk, or I cannot talk, for example, with my parents, or my parents will not listen to me. It is just from the perspective that I want to share something with someone else, and that person have specialty in generational transition, family offices, setting up family council, writing down things, preparing constitutions, and multiple such things are there around the family business advisors. There are so many things, so many tools which are being introduced, and as advisor myself and Daphne, I think you will also endorse this, that we invest a lot of time in preparing things, in preparing tools. We go through different learning phases. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if you endorse it, please go ahead, because we're moving towards a conclusion, and I wanted to highlight the importance of communication. The models which we have shared, all those models have certain exercises, questions, so this can bring so many so much guidance for advisors as well as the family members.
No, you've highlighted a very important part with the communication, all the learning and the experiences and the discussions that the family have together. It's not until all of that is mapped out, if you like, before the actual technical solutions are put in place. So it's very important to understand why we want this, then we get to the how do we do it. But we spent a lot of time going through everything that they felt was needed, what was important, looked at what would stop them from getting to that point, what's going to get in the way. Those are those roadblocks and potholes on the highway. And then we figure out, well, this is what we need to do. So by that time, they've all had the participation in the ideas, and they're all aligned on what they want to do. Otherwise, we don't move forward. We need to get that alignment. So absolutely, the communication is the most important part.
So listeners, we have introduced here the important model, and Daphne would like to talk more about that. That term is called GOLD.
Yep.
So Daphne, please. Go ahead.
We call it the GOLD transition plan. So gold being, one of the precious metals, and this is a very precious and important model that helps families actually define what it is they want to achieve. So the word gold, the G stands for the goals. That's what the family enterprise strives for, what their
Mm-hmm.
destination is, if you like, what it is they want to achieve. Now, for every goal that anyone pursues, there will be some obstacles that get in the way. There's things that will derail their progress. They'll stop them from making the right decisions, or things that will just cause conflict, perhaps. We call them obstacles in general. So all the obstacles should be looked at. If you ignore obstacles, you're setting yourself up for failure. You really need to address those concerns that everybody has in their mind about why we can't achieve our goals. So once
Mm-hmm.
those obstacles are all identified, then we can actually plan a long-term plan around what we need to do to address those obstacles, what will give us success. So we take every one of the obstacles, or hurdles as we might call them, that we have to jump over, and we look at all of those. Everybody participates in that, and then from those we can develop a strategy around what we can do to address that obstacle, to prevent it from derailing our goal. And there will be a number of those, and we'll come up with a number of action ideas, if you like, the things that we will do together.
Mm-hmm.
So once we have those, what you said, that knowledge around what we need to do, well, then we can develop a detailed action plan. So here's everything that we need to do, and we can assign people to do things, to make sure that we have a commitment to getting it done, and also to make sure that nobody drops the ball. So everybody's engaged in the process. So we've got the goal set, we've got the obstacles, we've got a long-term plan, and we are ready to develop the action items that need to be done. And
Great.
success.
Wonderful. So you guys, if you want to go through the further details of this goal aspect, go ahead and grab the copy of the book as well.
So for us to make sure that the family comes up with a plan that they can buy into and commit to, we take them through that actual process. Now, you can certainly read the ins and outs of that on the guide, and it's difficult when you're writing a guide to actually explain how we led the family through that process. So Mohsin and I are both available for anyone who wants to actually have a live demonstration of how that works, and we're certainly available to help you do that with your family, or if you're the advisor, with your client.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Daphne. Thanks for your time, and I really enjoyed working with you, and hopefully we will be working on upcoming projects as well. Thank you, listeners, for your time, and hopefully we'll be coming up with new tools, new objectives, new episodes. We are having an aim that we can contribute to the family business, because family businesses are contributing a lot across the globe and global economy. So we want to contribute in global economy with the help of contributions in the family businesses. Thanks again, and see you next time. Take care for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, Mohsin.
You're welcome.